Hi everyone, I didn't advertise or I suppose schedule the live today, but I'm on and I wanted to talk about actually a client story. And I suppose I'm probably giving the title of, for this client story, is drinking too much of your protein after a weight loss surgery. So that's what I'm talking about today. Is I'm sharing a client story, but you might resonate this with you of drinking too much of your protein intake after your weight loss surgery. Welcome everyone. Now I am going to call my client Mary, and Mary and I started working together when she was about 7 months after surgery, 7 months post-surgery. She had surgery out of the country and she'd got home and basically been doing most of the journey on her own, had very little support. And when we started working together, I noticed a couple of really key things that she was struggling with. One, she was drinking significantly more than half of her, or really a significant amount of her protein. There was no real distinct schedule in her diet, and also high carbohydrate foods were starting to come back into her diet. Now, as I go through, everyone, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, please let me know. When I start working with people in my program, we really dig deep into what's going on, not only obviously clarify goals, but what's really going on. And Mary was really drinking way too much of her protein. And I want to explain why this is not ideal. Yes, we talk about high protein shakes in those early medium days after weight loss surgery, but even longer. You can actually have them even longer. But we want to use them strategically. We use them when you can't eat or your protein, and they can be really good for certain people in certain jobs and those things. But we don't want to rely on them. We still want to focus on food first and getting a lovely, varied, healthy diet. Okay. And also often I find, and this was the same for Mary, being really motivated and wanting to getting great protein in the diet and having really big, high protein shakes that needed an hour and a half of her time to get through. And what that means is that when that kind of sipping, grazing, eating happens, it merges into the next meal, and then you're not as hungry. You don't eat as much. You've lost your appetite. Then you don't eat much. And then not long after that meal, you need to eat something. So it starts that cycle and can push people into more of a grazing eating cycle. So when we worked together, we looked at developing and putting a great structure into her diet, really looking at her work schedule, going to bed schedule and everything, and looking at putting a great structure, limiting the protein drinks to a portion of her intake and also the size. And some people are really surprised when I talk about having a small high protein shake or drink that is giving you a certain amount of protein, and we want to be having that over, I call it a stick meal. So it's sip, 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 stop when you're satisfied, or if 30 minutes comes around. Because guess what? Then we have lovely gaps between our meals, and we can go into our fluid intake and look at building up that fluid intake in the day. But also we have an appetite when we get to the next meal. So the three things we really focused on in the beginning of working together is getting structure, limiting protein drinks and using them strategically, and having really distinct meals. Okay. I'd love to hear from anyone that's on. If you've got any questions or any comments, and this is of interest, or this is something that you've noticed yourself doing. And what the outcomes have been for Mary is more food in her diet, and that's a wonderful thing, because we want, and I want people to know after their weight loss surgery, not only how to eat, but what to eat, and getting some great meal planning and preparation, and knowing great food choices and how to plate them up. So more food is more satisfying. We get more fiber, and we get more of that, the chewing and all of those things, and that actually really supports people's enjoyment in their diet. But also, how we also got more food is we got more appetite, because those shakes weren't going over such a long time and merging into the next meal. So lovely. Someone's asked, at what point post-surgery should we start focusing on this? I'm only 3 weeks. Oh, Asha, you are early days. Mary was 7 months post-op and still drinking about 70% probably of her protein intake. And from about week 3, I am looking at, I put a structure in place with people, with my clients, and we're looking at drinking roughly half our protein intake at week 3. And over time, we pull it down because you can eat more. And why do we want to do that? We want to do that for a whole lot of reasons, but food is first. We don't want to live on drinks, but can you, in the long run, still have a protein shake as part of your daily routine? Yes, you can. We just build more protein in, more fiber in, and round it out. So you have just stepped across the line of your journey, as I like to put it. And you want to use, and in those early to medium days, it really, I kind of consider that up the 3-4, like the 4-5 month mark. We use protein shakes really strategically to get a good portion of your protein. But at certain points, and it is individual, we want to be lessening that off and not relying on them, and building all that other knowledge and skills into your diet and into your food choices. So has anyone else got any questions or any thoughts about protein shakes? Because some people will come to me and say, I don't want to live on those things. And I say, great, I don't want you to live on them either. And there's really a balance, and it really depends when we start tapering off those. Really depends on how you personally are moving forward in the amount that you can eat, and that can be very individual. There is no one size fits all. Okay, so if anyone's got any questions, any thoughts about what I spoke about, you can ask me questions even if it's not related to this topic. I'm very open to be asked questions. Okay, someone's just asked, I'm having a hard time figuring out what my schedule is, and I'm 5 months post-op. I tend to eat smaller meals more frequently, like every 2-3 hours per day. Is that okay? Yeah, no, that's definitely okay. And I work on the 5 small meals a day. We just have them, that's not considered grazing. They are distinct meals. And what I mean by distinct is that if you aren't satisfied, or usually you are, we finish them by 30 minutes. So nice distinct meals. In the long run, people can often come down to 4 meals a day, okay? So it really is individual. It's really about when you can eat enough comfortably at those meals to lessen them. But yes, you can't eat the volume that will sustain you for hours and hours and hours. So what you're talking about there is very normal. That is very normal. And you keep going until you can eat enough to cut down to 4 meals a day. And if people cut down to 4, I'm very passionate about breakfast, morning tea, lunch, because there's so much good research, and I see it play out all the time with my clients. When we put a good amount of protein earlier in the day, it really supports our eating and how satisfied we feel later in the day. Okay. Someone's put 10 years out, I'm struggling with protein and regain. Do you have a day menu? That's a very common question. In my program, I do provide meal plans, but I only roll them out to people, as I call it, when they have a certain level, I think of that competency. Often people feel a meal plan's going to solve all their problems. Well, actually, we know it doesn't. You can't stick to them. I teach people how to eat, how to plate your food up, how to eat a meal, and we develop meal, and we have a meal planning guide, and I teach you how to do your own meal plans and planning, and how to estimate your protein in a meal. And I work on that all with people, because they are your own food choices, your food preferences, but also it's knowledge that you have for the rest of your life. If you're given a meal plan, you don't really learn any new habits and skills, okay? So yes, I do. Please DM me if you want to chat to me more about this, but it's a very common thought. So somebody's put you at 5 weeks post-op. So you put 5 months, 5 weeks. Oh, okay. No, very normal to have 5 small meals a day at 5 weeks, and you'll be there for some time. Okay, just going through. So thank you, everyone. I mean, if there's any more questions, that's great. And thank you so much for jumping on. I'll just wait a couple of minutes. Okay. I do have a program, my Bariatric Nutrition Bootcamp. If you would like to know anything more about how I work with clients, how I would work with you, please send me a DM. And I have a program video, and it's not too long, but I talk more about who my program's suitable for, and also the key areas that I focus on in my program. And they are 4 key areas that people struggle mostly after weight loss surgery. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thanks everyone. Bye.